Alrighty, friends. So today we're gonna talk. Well, I'm gonna talk, because it's just me. There's no where. It's just me, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Today we're gonna be talking about uh, the big number 5 top sports moment within the Bostonian sports history. And like I keep talking about, like I keep mentioning, because I feel like it's something that needs to be mentioned time and time again, right? Is Boston's got a huge sports history, like a huge sports history. It goes back all the way to the 1800s. Okay, that's a long time. It's definitely something that needs to be said, uh, because not a lot of cities have such a long and luxurious history like Boston in terms of the sports world, right? It's such a dominant history too, because you look at there was a long period of time where the Celtics, won like a ton, like in the the 50s, 60s, and 70s, right? If you look right around that time era, the Boston Celtics won a ton of championships, like a ton of them. It's crazy. It's just insane the amount of championships that they won, right? And when the Red Sox first, started out back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they were pretty dominant as well. They won quite a few World Series championships as well. And then you look at the last 20 years, technically last essentially 16 years, since 2004, they've won a good amount of championships as well. And then the Patriots, right? Ever since 2001, they've won 6 Super Bowl championships. I mean, it's crazy. And the Bruins have always been a good team, but unfortunately haven't had much luck when it comes to the playoffs and the Stanley Cup Finals. Right? They were obviously in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. I was actually in Boston with a buddy of mine at a Red Sox game the same day as they were playing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. That was actually in Boston, and it was interesting because both the Red Sox game and the Bruins game were gonna start at the same time, and both sports organizations kind of called each other and they called each other, okay, and they were like, hey, yeah, look, we can't really have this happen, so one of us needs to change the time, like the start time of the game, kind of looking at the Red Sox, because Stanley Cup Finals is obviously a huge deal. It's kind of the series that determines the champion, essentially. Kind of a big deal, but not really. It's debatable. And obviously on that day, the Red Sox game was just essentially just another Red Sox game. You know what I mean? There's 182 games in a season for the an MLB team, and that was just for the Red Sox. That was just another one of the books, right? I was at a point in the season where that game didn't really matter anyway, so the Red Sox moved up their start time to I'm pretty sure it was 1:15, 1:30, right around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was like, oh snap. So I called my buddy. I'm like, hey, we got to get to the Sox game earlier now, because they moved it up, because it was supposed to start at 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? So they moved it up a whole 6 hours. So that changed our whole entire plan for the day. So I called my buddy. I'm like, hey, look, we're heading to the Sox game early. We got to go now. So yeah, we got up early. We sneaked over to Boston. It was nice because we were able to catch the Red Sox game. We caught most of it. They ended up winning in the bottom of the ninth inning, so it was a very exciting game. And then we were able to sneak home, head out, and then catch the Bruins game. So that was perfect. That worked absolutely incredible. So we were able to catch the game, and obviously, again, they lost. So it was unfortunate. But, the Bruins, again, very dominant team, have been a dominant team for a long time, have always been, somewhere in the playoff contention. Again, really stress the somewhere. And, yeah, they can't really do anything about it. But the big conversation point for today, though, that I was thinking about a lot lately as well, is the whole idea of the 2018. So this essentially, I think, really fits the whole number 5 realm of being, the number 5 sports moment in the history of Boston sports. Okay, and it's the whole idea of the 2018 World Series championship. Okay, the year 2018, the season in 2018, the year 2018. Okay, the Boston Red Sox arguably had one of the best teams they've ever had in a very long time. Okay, and they had well over 100 wins that season, which was crazy. Some folks said they cheated, but that's not right. They didn't. Okay, that's what I can't stand about folks going against Boston sports, is that for such a long time everybody's been trying to call out all of the Boston teams for cheating. It's like, no. First of all, we're just good, okay, which clearly a lot of teams around the country just aren't. Okay, so if you don't have talent, and you're saying, if your team doesn't have talent and you're saying that we're cheating, just stop talking right now. Okay, because we, like, all of our Boston teams, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, we've got a lot of talent because everybody knows that we're good. So they actually want to come here and play for us because they want to be a part of that strong team, that strong energy, that great vibe. So we've got great teams, right? So we're all set in that department. We're just always good. And, we use... Obviously, we use the rule book to our advantage, right? It's very, very clear about that with the Patriots because, rule book Bill Belichick, he studies the rule book. Like, he makes that a point. Every season, look at the rule book, see what's the same, see what's different, see if they made any new changes, see if they took anything away from the rule book. And if there are changes, he thinks, okay, there's got to be a way that this rule does not make sense, right? And again, he uses it to their advantage, and they capitalize off it. Okay, so I can't stand it when people say Boston sports teams cheat when we don't. Okay, we have the talent and we utilize that talent to our advantage. It's like, and Deflategate was essentially the biggest scam there ever was. Okay. Because clearly Roger Goodell is just completely irrelevant, okay? He's just there because they need a commissioner, right? But, in the grand scheme of things, Roger Goodell does absolutely nothing, okay? He's like the biggest fraud of a commissioner there ever is, okay? He's completely just doing nothing. The only thing he's doing is sitting on the couch eating donuts. He's like, and every day he wakes up, he's like, oh wait, I'm still the commissioner. Well, this is pretty cool. So he's getting paid to do nothing. So the NFL needs a change in there pretty darn soon. So back to the 2018 season. Okay, my number 5, my 5th top Boston sports moment in the Bostonian sports history, right? So, like I was saying before I went on that little tangent there, right? One of the most winningest seasons in Red Sox history, and well over 100 wins that season, right? Once they got to the playoffs, they just absolutely dominated. Okay, made it look pretty easy. They did really well. I mean, obviously they did struggle with a little bit. Right? They played the Astros. The Astros that year were, again, another great team. Okay, they played the Yankees, again, great team. Always has been. They did play, they did struggle, right? They lost, they did lose games, but they made sure they found a way to bounce back and, try to really, because, if they had so many wins that season and they lost in the playoffs, that wouldn't have looked good, right? That would have looked absolutely terrible. And it was great because, it definitely seems like there's been a common theme of, coaches entering brand new head coaches entering the Boston Red Sox, our first season, just absolutely dominating, right? John Farrell did it when he became the head coach of the Red Sox. That was the only World Series he won with the team for his remaining tenure as the head coach. Okay, then Alex Cora came in the 2018 season. Right, they told John Farrell to get the heck out. Alex Cora came in, absolutely dominated the 2018 season. Had well over 100 wins, some of the most wins the Red Sox have had in a very, very long time. And went through the playoffs, went to the World Series against the Dodgers, which was cool because earlier that year, right, for the Super Bowl, the Patriots played the Rams. Okay, again, another Los Angeles team. So that was pretty cool. It was neat that, again, a New England team played a Los Angeles team. That's actually a huge shout out to Los Angeles too, because that just goes to show you that year they had a great team as well, right? So it's neat to see that both parts of the country, both areas on the opposite sides of the country, one team on one coast, another team on the completely opposite coast. It was neat to see that both areas had both great teams and both great enough to make it to the big stage, right? The big dance floor, the big dance, right? So it's neat to see that both teams were able to make it to 2 different championships. So both teams did incredible. Well, the only touchdown that the Rams had in the Super Bowl was when they landed at the runway, right? But to keep with the baseball scheme of things, again, it was a great series. Well played on both sides, on both teams. On offense, on the batting scheme of things at the plate, on the defensive side of things, on the field, and it was great to see. It was really great to see that the Red Sox were able to capture that title, capture that championship. Because the 5-year difference between 2013 and 2018, it was definitely a bit of a ride, right? It was definitely a 5-year struggle where, the Red Sox was definitely trying as hard as they could to make the playoffs. And didn't really do too well, and the season was definitely a long season, for a while there. So it was nice to see the Red Sox be able to dominate, throughout the season. It was nice to see Alex Cora being able to lead such a strong team, because it was a strong team. You had Xander Bogaerts, J.D. Martinez. J.D. Martinez was just absolutely electric during the whole season, right? Because he was like the David Ortiz 2.0 when it came to hitting the ball, right? He was just such a great hitter he was just such a great player with the baseball bat. You know what I mean? He was just able to walk up. He was able to walk up to the plate. He was like, oh, yeah, I got this, and just go up there and crush a home run out of the park, right? He had so many home runs that year. It was awesome. It was so good to see. He just went up to the plate, crushed one. He's like, oh, yeah, it's just another one, right? And so he had J.D. Martinez slugging them at the plate. Mookie Betts, being able to really work the plate, and he was really, able to capitalize. Okay, I got this many strikes and, this many balls, So he's able to work the count to his advantage, right? He did absolutely incredible with that. Okay, and I was thinking about that one at bat that he had where the pitcher threw like a ton of pitches at him. He had a full count, right? 3 balls, 2 strikes. The pitcher kept slinging them. Mookie Betts kept working the pitcher. You could tell the pitcher was really upset at that point. He was like, what the heck's going on? Like, I don't care what he does, what Mookie Betts says at this point, as long as he just goes away. And so it turns out that after a very, very long period of time, Mookie Betts got up there and, worked the pitcher like crazy. And then it got to a point where Mookie Betts crushed one out of the park, and boom. I'm sure the pitcher didn't want that to happen. That's for darn sure. So and then you had Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, and so on and so on. They just had such a stacked, powerful team that year that it was clear to see why they had well over 100 wins, because literally every batter that they had on their roster that year was incredible. Okay, Steven Pierce. Oh my God, I'll stop naming players, because obviously they just had so many incredible players that year. where every time, every single batter that was on that roster, every single game, even if they lost, it didn't matter because everybody on that roster did something. Okay, they did something incredibly impactful, not only throughout the season but in the playoffs as well. So, and there's that big quote that says, "There's no I in team, but there's an I in win." Okay, that quote really stood out for that team because everybody did something. Everybody did something. Okay, and they capitalized off of all that talent, off of all that power, and that's why they won the championship. None of that cheating garbage. Okay, that's fake news. Okay, that's just irrelevant. They did not cheat that year because they had such a powerful team that they didn't need anything to help them out. Okay, because they had all of their talent on the field. They didn't need anything else whatsoever. So, again, 2018 World Series championship for the Boston Red Sox. That was my number 5 moment in Boston sports history. And so, with that being said, I'll conclude this video here. So, until I see y'all next, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. And thank you to our frontline workers because y'all are the real heroes. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon.